Hello, everybody. It's Amy Armstrong here. Today, I'm joined by Anna Dillinger. Anna's going to share her RCP journey with us, her personal and both her professional journey so far. So welcome, Anna. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thank you.
Anna, take us back to prior the RCP and tell us your journey up until the point that you actually found the RCP and share.
I would love to share. So I feel like I have always been interested in holistic health as long as I can remember. I remember being a 5-year-old and paying attention to how my stomach felt when I would eat certain foods. So I was always hyper aware in that respect. And for many years have studied a lot of different courses, done some credentials towards, building my suite of knowledge about health. But the area that always plagued me personally and sort of made me feel a lacking of confidence was in the arena of digestion. I just could not shake certain symptoms, no matter what I did. And I have gone down every rabbit hole that there is in terms of diets, omission, and I just couldn't get around it. So I was popping digestive enzymes, probiotics, without a whole lot of relief from it. So I remember hearing little tidbits about the RCP. I didn't know what it was, but I remember hearing little tidbits about it, and I just kept circling back to it because I knew that there was something that was missing from the information that I had.
So tell us a little bit more about, the digestion part of things. You did share off camera that you felt a fear of food, which is such a common thing that we see these days, when people have those digestive upsets and, we're taught to just remove the food and things will be okay. Whereas I guess through the RCP that allows us to access, that real healing to help repair that digestion. So what did you find in your own experience there?
Yeah, so like many of us, I was fearing external sources. So I listened to a lot of people who were sharing that, gluten is inflammatory, dairy is inflammatory, we should fear corn and soy. And yes, there's a lot of validity, of course, to quality of food. But I was almost paralyzed by my fear of certain foods and how they would impact my body. And I don't think I realized what a hold that had over me and was sort of preventing me from seeking that deeper healing was, again, fearing something outside of my own body instead of recognizing that no food is inherently dangerous. That is more about the relationship that we have with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the RCP brings that focus back to the host, back to our bodies and back to strengthening, our own bodies and having that resilience to be able to manage to eat, a wide range of foods. So what was your experience with the RCP? Did you begin the protocol for yourself?
Yeah, so I kept seeing things about the root cause protocol on Instagram. And to be honest with you, the very first thing that I heard about was the perspective on vitamin D. And I'll be honest with you, there was a visceral reaction from me at first. I did not want to hear it. It did not align with how I felt. And I think underneath it all, there was maybe a little bit of embarrassment or fear that perhaps I was giving people misinformation. So I didn't even want to go there. So that resistance was up for quite a while. I want to say it was probably 6 to 12 months that I would sort of shut down anything that didn't align with what I believed. And so one day I remember I saw a link to a video with Morley, and the first time I heard him walk through the sort of scientific backing behind everything, and really connect the importance of minerals as a foundation, it was like every alarm in my mind went off. Like, this is the missing piece. This is what I've been waiting for to make sense of so many health concepts that previously didn't feel fully baked for me. I have for many years worked with individuals or even studied certain programs that were very focused on, killing the invader, detox protocol, supplement protocols, this fear around parasites, mold, all of this. And I have always been a less is more gal. So there was something about that did not resonate. And it was when I heard Morley speak and I saw how simple, how profoundly simple it could be, that I thought, I really need to look into this, and I need to look at what this would be like to implement for myself. So I downloaded the RCP handbook, and I was so sure that this was the right direction that after I watched the video of Morley, I signed up for the RCP Institute.
Wow. And what video? Can you share what video you viewed to make you sign up so quickly?
Matt Blackburn video, but it also could have been the Luke Story video. They were similar times. So yes, I started in waiting for the RCP Institute to start. I had a few months and I started to explore all of the stops. And again, there was resistance that came up for me because it was so different than what I had been telling myself, what I had been advising others to do. We were very much in the throes of COVID still. And I had been saying ascorbic acid, zinc, vitamin D. So of course there was that mixed feeling of, what am I going to tell people if I about face? But it all made sense when I started to implement it. It all made sense. Just the small step of stopping all the synthetic vitamins, I felt a shift in my body.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing to think. The stops are so powerful, aren't they? Just in themselves. And if people did nothing else but just that stop list, for some they see an incredible difference just based on what they're stopping, let alone what they're starting. So what types of things were you seeing in your own body?
I think the big thing that I know now that I didn't know then is, I think that a lot of what I was doing and a lot of, what I was taking supplementally was dulling my body's own responses. And so I don't think I was even connecting with what my body's cues were and what it needed. And so I was just throwing supplements at it. And thinking all along, it's the food that's out to get me, or it's the virus, or whatever it was externally, which I now know was, it's so common for most of us to symptom chase. We want to, as quickly as possible, stop whatever it is that our body, whatever signal our body is sending us, without taking a moment to say, what is this trying to tell me? Right? So that was the biggest thing at first, was instead of fearing what was coming up and resisting it, was just sitting with it and not fearing it.
That's so powerful. And the beauty of this protocol is it's empowering for us to be able to not focus on chasing the bugs and the symptoms, but rather really just putting the focus back on strengthening our own body and letting it go to work. So Sorry, we're having a little bit of an unstable connection. I hope that you're not losing me.
Nope.
So tell us about your experience at the Institute. What did you think of the course once you started to delve in? Obviously, you'd done, like a lot of people had probably viewed and listened a lot to Morley leading in, which is really helpful. But once you got down into the weeds with it, what was your experience there?
Yeah, so I think it's important to talk about what I had experienced prior to that. So it wasn't my first certification. I had studied with a couple of different schools, some that were very clinical and very sort of diagnostic driven, and some that were a little bit more free form. And so I was so pleased by the balance of the Institute, you know, the volume of scientifically backed data and information and the detail with which Morley goes into explaining the importance of all of our minerals and the balance of them, and the synergistic relationships and why they're important, but also taking a step back and looking at the practical application. You know, it wasn't just clinical. And for someone like me, that's what I need, is to understand the details and then to take a step back and really bring it all together in a way that I can apply it to client work, because we know that not all clients are going to want the volume of details. They want to understand, how do I feel better? So that was really powerful to me, that it was a really nice balance.
Yeah. So let's open that up a little bit more. Tell us, you know, about that practical application that you get out of the RCP. I mean, it's really founded in science, and there is a lot of deep science, and you can access that at whatever level that you're at with the knowledge that you have. But like you say, there's this real kind of, you know, learning to apply it to clients and help them, especially around their own stress picture.
So I was not expecting, but so appreciated the amount of time that was spent helping us in the coaching experience, helping us to know how to host a really effective consultation, and that it was heavily focused on listening, active listening, asking really engaging questions to empower the client, the individual, to tell us what they need. And, you know, I think having gone through a couple of other courses and, you know, being inundated by so much information on social media and the internet, you know, it's very easy to fall prey to that thought process of, I don't know enough. How am I ever going to know enough? I feel like a fraud. You know, that imposter syndrome that so many of us that work in this space, you know, the RCP Institute taught me to sit back, to listen, and let the client tell me what they need. Let the client tell me how much information they want. You know, do they want that level of detail? Or maybe they just really want to be heard. And so that part of it, as I said, was really unexpected. So far beyond the voluminous detail that very much well prepared me for those clients that want it, that I feel like I walked away with a much broader, you know, set of tools to engage with clients one-on-one.
Yeah. And that's the unique experience that we can provide, isn't it? It's that, you know, really just sitting back and helping people unfold, you know, their stress story and put it on this timeline, or put it on the Ferris wheel, as we often do, and so that they can see, you know, how that stress has affected their minerals and why they have the symptoms that they have. And that's so empowering for our clients to be able to, you know, see those light bulbs go off sometimes is a real buzz, I find. So you talked about, you know, being able to practice those skills. was that in the context of your tutorials? Can you share your thoughts about, you know, that part of the course, that we have these small group tutorials available where we get to practice these skills?
Yeah, so I think that was one of my favorite parts of my experience that I think is lacking in a lot of other certification programs is, you know, it's wonderful that we have all these programs that are virtual and that people can join from any part of the world. But in many of the courses and certification programs, there isn't a place to actually workshop what you're learning. And as somebody who is very interactive, I need that interaction to cement my knowledge. And so, you know, as I explain about my experience to friends and colleagues all the time, it was a really nice blend of, you know, of having the once a week opportunity to dive deep into the science and hear from Morley himself what he's been working on, and to see some examples of a case study right in front of us, and then also having some sort of quiet time to learn at our own pace throughout the week, all of this material on a particular topic. And then again, really cement it by having a small group tutorial session where we were led by an RCPC who had also at one point, you know, been in our shoes, you know, who had a deeper amount of knowledge than all of us to guide us through the work so that we could put it all together, fill in any gaps, and then really have a safe space to practice. So each week we had an opportunity to, whether it was, you know, practicing our listening skills through a demo consultation, or, you know, practice asking those sort of leading questions to, you know, solicit more information from someone. So I think for me, that piece was the icing on the cake. It really brought it all together.
Yeah. And yeah, like you say, really practicing those, you know, those open-ended type questions to really, you know, I found in my experience with the tutorials also, you know, some practitioners that are coming in and practicing on, you know, on themselves also have these light bulb moments in their own health journey where they're putting pieces together that they hadn't beforehand. So it really is a really powerful experience to be able to sit down, and the connections and the relationships you make through that as well, I found was, you know, just worthwhile in itself.
Yeah, I still have some wonderful friendships from my small group. So it's been extremely rewarding.
Yeah. So now that you have your you know, your root cause protocol consultant, you've done the course, how are you utilizing that now within your current practice? And share as much or as little as you can. You know, what are you seeing with your own clientele?
Yeah, so I have been, you know, very slowly working towards launching my private practice for a number of years. And I always felt like there was something missing. There was some, I don't know, some new piece I needed to feel really comfortable to launch it and to feel like I was, you know, best positioned to support others in their healing journey. And so this really, for me, was it. It was the piece that I didn't know I was missing. So previously, my work with clients was very focused on nutrition, and I would call it integrative. So I was certainly thinking about all of the other aspects that go into health, you know, sleep, movement, getting outside in nature, all of those things. But what I wasn't fully that I didn't fully have in my tool bag, so to speak, was being able to help people make the stress connection. And so, you know, understanding how minerals function and how we would go about replenishing them and balancing them is only half of the story if we don't know how to manage stress in our day-to-day life, because we could be replenishing our minerals every single day, but if those stressors are still running in the background, then it is a, kind of a losing battle, not to sound dramatic. But I think for me, having those three key pieces to my offering of, helping people with the nourishment side, the integrative nutrition side, helping them with the foundation of minerals and how powerful they are, and how they can really help us, improve our health in all areas, whatever the symptom, whomever the is. But also, I would say most importantly is connecting the mind to the body, in really understanding how certain events in our life, certain stressful events, or many years of chronic stress create a cascading effect. And it goes back to something I talked about before, which is if we're dulling our body's own natural responses, if we don't feel any symptoms come up because we're just popping pills, then we don't really know what we need, and we can't really see what the ramifications are of our daily life. We need to be very clear-headed and to be very open to listening to our body, to say, okay, that meal really nourished me, or it didn't, or these adrenal cocktails are giving me life. We need to feel that, and we need to have that really strong self-awareness to set ourselves up for success, because we're always going to have things come up. We're always going to have, symptoms bubble up out of nowhere, or stresses in our life, viruses coming in, whatever the case may be. I think what really separates people who have, strong health or a strong ability to heal are those that can navigate the storm. They understand why something is happening, and perhaps the role that they may have played in it. Gosh, I really didn't take care of myself last week. Last week was stressful. Not to shame it, but just to bring that awareness to it of, gosh, when that comes up again, are there some things I can do to replenish myself, to give myself that self-care? And I think that when we have those, that awareness to know how to navigate through it, then whatever it is that comes our way, we're going to be able to bounce back, and we're going to feel really empowered about our body is always working for us. It's never working against us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when it feels like it's working against us. It is working for us. It is trying to keep us safe and alive, and it'll do what it needs to do to keep us in that state. That's such an important message. And really, the word that kept bouncing around in my mind as you were talking then was resilience. We just want a body and a mind that is resilient, and not that we're not going to get sick from time to time, or not that we're going to not experience symptoms. That's not what the protocol is about. It's about, how can we bounce back? How long does it take us to bounce back from those sorts of things? So yeah, that's such an important message. I'm glad you shared that with us. And of course, through the protocol, we do then suggest other modalities and other things to help us. EFT being one of them, emotional freedom technique, which I find that many of my clients have never even heard of, and it's such a simple tool to utilize. Was that a new thing to you, and did you play around with EFT as well?
Yes, both. It was new. I had never heard of it. I mean, maybe I had heard of tapping, but I didn't know what it was. And I think that was another part of the protocol that really spoke to me. Was there's nothing in the protocol that is extreme. There's nothing that's, that's harsh about it. It's all very gentle. And I love that our approach is, if somebody is, for example, having an allergy, we're not going to come in and throw a bunch of, supplements or drugs or other things at it. We're going to look at what is underneath it. What are the experiences that led to that? Is there some limiting belief or some trauma under it? And EFT is a great example, as is NAET, about how we unpack some of these things that are coming up for us in our physical body. There is always a why. And so for me, I am currently working with an EFT practitioner, and it's really bringing even more of the full picture together, to really see all of the miscommunications, all of the misunderstandings I've had with my own body through the years. And honestly, it's been a lot of the mental, emotional work, the connecting that has resolved all of my digestive issues. I am proud to say that I have been able to bring back every omitted food. I no longer need digestive enzymes. It's just been amazing how those have dissipated. And I credit a lot of it to balancing my minerals, but there was a significant part of it that was me getting out of my own way.
Yeah. And that recognition that every symptom has an emotion behind it. I think that for some people coming into the RCP, that's a missing piece, that connection between, everything starts with an emotion, and our body responds to that. So I guess, tell us in a couple of sentences how the RCP, you feel how it's changed your life or changed your trajectory of your you professionally, about where you were going or where you were heading, and your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think my overarching statement would just be, it's really awakened me to the possibilities of healing and the simplicity of healing. I think that previously as a practitioner, I maybe viewed it as much more complicated. And again, much more externally focused. And now I feel very equipped to walk a client through their own empowerment journey. And I was just speaking with one of my clients this morning to say, this isn't outside of you. This is all in you. And the things that we're working on are supportive measures. They will help the journey, but what you have is exclusive of all of that. It's already in you. You just have to be willing to look inward, to slow down, to be reflective and curious, and be willing to look at some of these misunderstandings.
It's really awakening that innate healer. That's, I guess, as RCPCs, we're just guiding people through that journey, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's such an honor.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Anna, so much for sharing your experience. Would you recommend the root cause protocol consultant course through the Institute to other practitioners?
I absolutely do. And I'm always telling people about it. So it's part of my daily routine is to, just talk about my experience, how proud I am of, what I've learned and the people that I have met. I think that's been another really unexpected part is just the community. I would love to just enroll myself every single semester just to be around people who are so full of care and love for humankind. And the work that Morley is doing is, in a word, it's just selfless. He's just really trying desperately, without any ego, to help people see all of the possibilities that exist for healing.
Yeah, so well said. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.